It's time to get nerdy, y'all.
A little bit of gaming history for you.
Something relevant in gaming and discuss our opinions on it.
Should we kick it out of here, or should we kick-start it?
This is the part where you, the listeners, try to stump the hosts.
I'm not a lawyer. I just play one on a podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, lads and lasses of all ages, welcome to the show. Today it is episode 359 of Two Nerds in a Pod here on November 18th, 2025. Now, normally we do this on Mondays, of course, for the past while, but today we come to you on a Tuesday because of some stuff that we'll talk about shortly. But for the next hour, please join me, one of your hosts, Mac, as well as my comrade in gaming commentary, Mr. Nice Guy 425, also known as Lam, but we know him as the greatest podcaster in all of video game podcasting, and that's a fact.
What?
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I was saying what? Like, keep going. Like, hyping you up.
Sorry, I lost the thread.
That's okay. I threw the alley. You couldn't catch it. Don't worry about it, Mac.
But for the next hour, why don't you join us with a conversation about video games ranging from video game history all the way to lawsuits and sort of everything in between. This is Two Nerds in a Pod. But first, Mr. Nice Guy, it's been a week since we've been able to get together. How you doing, man? What's new?
Man, I'm doing good. I picked up a new game, and I played a little bit of that. I feel like every week I'm like, I played some laser tag, which I did again, and it was awesome, and had a really, really good time doing that. I'm the type of person, no matter what I'm doing, Mac, whether it's golf, whether it's tactical, competitive laser tag, or whether it's eating my breakfast, I'm a competitive person. I like to win, but I don't like to win by such a big margin
that nobody wants to play with you anymore?
Well, no, I'll whoop some people down. I'll beat people down, whatever it is. Like, I will eat my breakfast faster than my kids and then laugh at them.
Oh, yeah.
But in other things, I want it to be like a competitive match. And so I had some competitive matches in a lot of things this week, which was really good. I like a good, healthy dose of that. Mac, what's new with you, man?
Dude, well, part of why we're recording this on a Tuesday instead of our, as has been the normal Monday, is because I was able to entertain a certain Ishmael, friend of the show.
Yes.
Came out to visit, and we spent the whole weekend hanging out before I had to deposit him back at the airport for him to head home. It was a great time. We played some games together, video games, board games. I'm excited to talk about all of that later on, but really, I think the most exciting thing is just hanging out together, friends spending time together that they haven't in quite some time. It felt great, healed the soul, felt fantastic, and, already missing him.
That's awesome. So he came out to the new digs, right?
He did. Came out to the new digs out here on the coast. He came out to the coast. We had a few laughs. It was good. It was very good.
Love it, love it. Excited to hear what games y'all played when we get to that.
I'm excited to tell you about them.
Mac, this is a gaming podcast. And so on that note, I say we do what we do best and we hop right up in that gaming news, my friend. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. Mr. Nice Guy, has it been a big week for video games?
It's been an insanely big week, Mac. So much so that we may have to take a little bit more time for news, but I'll try to get through it fairly efficiently. Ladies and gentlemen, episode 359 is a go. Let's hop right up in that news with this story from GameSpot.com. Mac, and this story, to me, hilarious and very interesting. GameStop Trade Anything Day is coming up soon. Doesn't accept most animals or illegal drugs. This is by Eddie Macick on GameSpot.com. Retailer GameStop has announced a Trade Anything Day, and as part of this, people can visit a store and trade anything. Well, not quite anything. There is a list of items that GameStop will not accept, including dead animals and illegal drugs. The fine print for the December 6th event states that people can bring in for trades items that fit into GameStop's own 20 by 20 by 20 box, and that employees have discretion to reject any items, according to documentation shared by Wario64. People are limited to one trade and a value of just $5. In terms of specific exclusions, GameStop said people cannot bring hazardous waste, dead or alive animals. Taxidermy is okay, though. Alcohol, tobacco, drugs, illegal or otherwise, sexual and explicit items, or items resembling body parts. The full list of exclusions is available on GameStop's website. Mac, this is super interesting, and I think it's clearly a promotional thing, right? They want to get people in the door. They want to generate some hype. My question for you, in addition to any other thoughts that you'd like to share, is what will you be trading in to GameStop on December 6th?
Well, I wasn't planning on trading in anything at GameStop on December 6th. I think there might be one in my city, town. There may not be. I'll have to check it out.
The gas to get there, is it more than $5 to get there in gas, you think?
Probably. It might be it's more or less on my way to work. So I could, in theory, hit it on the way there or the way back. But if I was planning on it, I'm trying to think of what I would take and drop off. I think some old college textbooks. Yeah.
I like it. I was thinking, and this is probably like because I spend a little bit of time watching some prank videos occasionally, a gallon of spoiled milk. Like, take it out now and put it somewhere and then go trade it in. I understand that's not a nice thing to do, and I realistically am not going to do that. But it's going to be really, really interesting to see the viral trade-ins that people have this day, all in the name of $5. And, you know, I was reading another article on another site. Employees are already very, very terrified of the things that people are going to bring in. Now, last question I have for you about this, Mac. If you were going to trade in something crazy, not just a college textbook, like something like, hey, I want to record this, I want to trade it in, but I don't want anyone to get hurt, I just want to do something funny, what would that thing be, my friend?
Dude, I really have no idea. I don't have the eye of the tiger for the viral shenanigans that some people have, and I've tried to cultivate a very not viral shenanigan personality. So I absolutely nothing's coming to mind.
I'm thinking a penny would be hilarious.
Well, you know, now that they're not printing more of them.
That's a good point. Maybe that's a bad idea. Well, let's keep things moving since there's so many things to talk about. And this next one is the biggest one of the week. Mac and I often joke about how after we record, big news comes out. And it happened last week. Let's talk about this. This is on IGN.com. Steam Machine hands-on. First impressions of Valve's new console-like gaming PC. Written by Jacqueline Thomas. Steam machines are back for the first time since Valve teamed up with manufacturers like Alienware and Lenovo back in the 2010s. But while those original console PC hybrids failed because of a lack of game compatibility with the nascent SteamOS, 2022 Steam Deck has paved the way for a Steam Machine's return. This time around, instead of partnering with outside manufacturers, Valve is building and releasing a singular Steam machine with the goal of being able to run all current games at 4K with upscaling. The secret behind this, I don't want to get into the technicals, but Mac, the real news story here is that the Steam machine is going to be back.
Yes.
In addition to that, there's going to be a new virtual reality headset that actually will play flat screen games as well. So you can play in VR, or you can just put it on and play a flat screen traditional game using it as a screen. There will also be a new Steam controller. My first question for you, Mac, is which of the three, if any of them, are you excited and thinking about picking up, and why?
Okay, I'm excited about all three of them. I am excited for the Steam PC, the Steam machine itself, because it's going to be made specifically for working, for running Steam. We don't know anything about the pricing yet, but if things like the Steam Deck are any indication, it's likely to be fairly reasonably priced. Now, is it going to be the highest end stuff? Absolutely not. But it is likely to be well situated. Now, as we know, ever since the Steam Deck came out, Steam has been doing a lot of work making it so that, video games are compatible and running on Linux, which has been great for any of those people out there who like using not Windows, and significantly less overhead from a streamlined operating service.
Sure.
operating system.
System.
That's the thing. Yeah. All that taken together, I am excited by the prospect. Not that it isn't something you couldn't mostly already do, but one of the things that kind of holds some PCs back from, say, running Linux effectively is that you wind up... It's difficult with how different components there are in a PC to support that with drivers in the long term. You know, it gets a little fiddly, is all I'm saying. And so something that's built to run that version of Linux that they're using from the outset means that there will be a lot of really good support for that PC on Linux, and is likely to be very functional for quite some time. So I think it'll be a good option. Anyway, I have similar things to say about the other stuff, but I'm most excited about the Steam machine itself for those reasons.
I'm excited. Here's why I'm excited, and here's why I'm not excited. I'm excited because Steam has been, and I should say Valve, has been, to me, the pinnacle of making innovative products and also providing really, really good customer service. I have the Steam Deck. I have the Valve Index. I have a lot of Steam games, I guess depending on who you ask. And at one point, one of the sensors on my Valve Index broke, and they just straight up sent me a new one for free. Like, their refund policy is very, very reasonable. They're constantly having sales. You know, it's interesting how hypocritical we get about physical media, but we all love Steam. But I will say that they've done a lot to be endearing to the gamer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's my issue with the Steam PC. I have a PC. It's not the best PC anymore. You came over, you helped me build it right before COVID. So it's now a few years old, but it's still very functional and plays a lot of good games and does everything I need it to do at this point. I could hook a TV up to my PC.
Yeah.
And then hook a controller up to my PC and do exactly what this Steam box is going to do. Unless they tell me that this Steam PC is going to have different features that make it unique, this is not something new. And Mac, this is something that I talk about a lot. The media in tech has convinced us to buy the same things over and over and over again that are derivative of each other. And we get excited about it and we do it. I have an iPhone, I have an iPad. Yes, the iPad's bigger, but ultimately it does the exact same things that I can do on my iPhone. It's just bigger. But at the same time, when it comes to certain things, we want something that's compact, right? So it's interesting how we just do these mental gymnastics to make purchases that contradict themselves and that do things we can already accomplish with what we already have. Would you disagree with that, or would you agree with what I'm saying?
Oh, no, I definitely agree that there's an awful lot of PR and an awful lot of trying to convince us that, you know, the same thing, no real innovation, is actually an innovation. Skyrim being on every platform.
Sure. Fair.
And maybe I didn't say it especially well previously, but I think one of the things that really excites me for the Steam machine, for this Steam PC, is just how much better I think our prospects are as gamers if we want a Linux experience going forward. You know, there was a time where if you wanted to play games, you had to have a Windows PC.
Yeah.
And so I'm just very enthused by Steam continually working on it and making Linux just a much more viable operating system if you are going to be a gamer. And I think this just ensures that that ecosystem is just going to get better and better and better, or at the very least going to stay relevant and not fade into obscurity. And as somebody who especially doesn't care much for the direction that Microsoft is taking with their operating system and what they're trying to pass off as innovation on their side, I'm enthused about the prospect of, hey, I can probably shift over to doing Linux and not have to give up my games. I love that journey for us.
And that's a really, really good point, because Microsoft has effectively said that their next console will be a PC console hybrid, right? Steam is likely going to put one out that I won't even say that it's going to be more powerful, because we don't know, but I will say that probably just based on what they do, the price point may be better than what the Xbox is. Plus, you get your library. You get access to your library, and it's a PC, so you can probably access the Xbox stuff too, doing Game Pass on your Steam PC. So it's going to be interesting console war because Valve is now officially back in.
Yeah.
The only other thing I was going to talk about, and we don't have a ton of time, is like this will have to be significantly more powerful than the Steam Deck, or have some type of feature that is better, because the Steam Deck can be docked, and can effectively be a PC that is handheld, that is a hybrid that hooks up to your TV as well. Interesting to see what features we get from the Valve box.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mac, let's just do one more news story. I was going to talk about the new update for the Steam Deck, how you can now do stuff display off in terms of downloads. Not too much discussion there, but super cool features. Shout out to Valve for continuing to support that hardware. Mac, instead let's talk about Halo. This is from Polygon.com, written by... Who's it written by? R.A. Notice. The promise was Infinite, a Halo game that would run for a decade or more. Today, 4 years after its release, Halo Infinite starts winding down with its final major content update. What happened? Halo Infinite's problems began before it was even released. Microsoft clearly intended for it to be the 2010 flagship launch title for its shiny new Xbox Series X. At the time, the head of developer 343 Studios told IGN, Infinite was the last planned standalone Halo game for the foreseeable future. Instead of just a game, it would be a platform. The start of the next 10 years of Halo. A month later, they delayed it to 2021. And Mac, now we're here 4 years later, and they're starting to wind down content updates. I feel like there's so much to talk about here in terms of stop killing games, in terms of live service, in terms of investing your time, energy, and money into a game, into a universe that you think is going to be there, and then it ends up not being there for as long as you expected. What are your thoughts about this, Mac, and how it relates to some of the underlying themes that we talk about here on the podcast?
Man, so many thoughts. But Mr. Nice Guy, well, have you played Halo Infinite?
Oh, I love Halo Infinite. It's fun. I have it on my deck. I have it on my my Xbox. I love me some Halo Infinite.
Yeah, I have enjoyed Halo Infinite as well. Played it just mostly on my desktop computer with a friend. Played through the campaign. Haven't really played much through the multiplayer, so I know, I'll have you. So, Nice Guy, as somebody who has played it, I can speak to my experience from playing the campaign. But the question I want to reverse propose to you is, what is your ideal future for Halo Infinite? What do you think, if they were going to do right by us, by the customer, what do you think when they say, okay, we're done with Halo Infinite, what does Halo Infinite look like after they turn off the lights?
So let's forget about content updates. That's a great question. Let's just talk about support for the game.
Yeah.
Because I believe, especially with the multiplayer being free to play, that there is still a pretty significant community for this game that likes Halo. And that, candidly, we just don't get Halo games that frequently, right? It's not Call of Duty. It's not a lot of other games. I think that they could take an approach of making it similar to a Fortnite. Not necessarily in terms of all the collabs and all the Marvel and having Eminem in there and the dancing and the emotes, but simply
don't forget
in
Marshmallow.
And Marshmallow, but simply in the sense of continuing to have community events, right? Have special game modes, have things that take a minimal amount of time and require you to continue keeping the servers going, so that the people who were thinking, hey, this is going to be a 10-year thing and we're not getting another Halo for a while, will continue to play it. And it doesn't kind of go the way of Splinter Cell in terms of, yeah, you can still play it, but we're ready for a new one, right? That's my ideal, is that they just keep the existing content going with the occasional free update.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. I mean, and my ideal, as someone who just played the campaign, I think very much fits into your ideal as well, where I would expect to be able to play through the campaign again, which, if those things are still rocking and rolling, probably mutually happening at the same time. I ask that question because obviously you mentioned stop killing games, very front of mind with something like this, as it's a service. What do you think's the bare minimum we should expect from 343, from Microsoft, in order to, with respect to Halo Infinite when they flip the lights off on their way out?
Yeah, and we should be clear here. When we say flip the lights off and that it's ending, I think what it means is simply that there's not going to be like big new maps and stuff like that being added. And probably they won't have new seasons in terms of Battle Pass. The reality is you can still go to Master Chief Collection and play any of those old Halos, and there's still support for them. So I don't think Halo Infinite is going away. I simply think that the expectation of it being a 10-year live service, continually updated with new content and new events game.
Actively being worked on.
Correct.
That 10-year active, this is the Halo universe for the next 10 years. That dream's gone.
And it's easy to go in, and it's easier, I should say, to go in and say, hey, we're going to provide verbal updates of, hey, now it's a double XP weekend. Now it's, capture the flag, 8v8, like new stuff like that doesn't require a lot of energy into building new maps. That's what I meant when I think it should continue.
With respect to that, we know that they're not planning on making any more content for release, but they're not saying that they're going to be shutting down the servers of the game.
Correct. So keep playing Halo. No one owes us anything. It's just sad to see the promises go by the wayside.
Yeah. I don't know as I necessarily agree with nobody owes us anything. I think they owe us lots. But
I don't know. The multiplayer is free to play, so like, what do they owe us, right?
Did you buy the campaign?
No, I did not.
Oh,
so I just play the multiplayer.
See, I actually pay for my games, Mr. Nice Guy, so I think I should get to keep it.
Well, I think you'll get to keep the campaign, but I'm just saying with the multiplayer, it was free.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, obviously, we don't know. There's the situation where what happens to one, what happens to the other. Halo Infinite's going to be something that I'm keeping an eye on for the future. But I hope that the lack of updates for the free-to-play side, the multiplayer, doesn't negatively impact the campaign or what have you. But, I'm really sad to see that something that said it was going to be 10 years of Halo has petered out after 4. And I think I agree with you, Mr. Nice Guy. I don't think it's because there is a lack of enthusiasm in the community.
Well, Mac, that has been our news for the week, sir.
Okay, well, now let's take a little look into the past, Mr. Nice Guy, with some video game history. I think I'll start about as far back as I can in video game history. 1980. A little something interesting happened. There was a championship held by Atari in New York in early November 1980, to find the greatest player of Space Invaders, to crown a champion of Space Invaders, arguably the first esports tournament, and definitely the first nationwide one, as it was throughout the United States. And we had ourselves a winner, a certain Rebecca Heineman, who crowned champion best Space Invaders player in the United States. A fantastic achievement, and one that would actually, we talked about it, I think a couple of years ago, about them doing another championship, and, anyway, that's not within the purview of today. Mr. Nice Guy, I've also got some games that I know are near and dear to both of our hearts that all came out this last week in years before, some things that we absolutely love. In 2001, Halo Combat Evolved, and the launch of the Xbox. Hard to overstate how very cool. I mean, even now in 2025, a full 24 years later, the legacy of that lives on. Microsoft, Xbox, Halo, completely independent of the fact that they were released these last, this week in years before, they were headlining in our discussion today. Something with a little bit less direct mention, but always very front of mind. A release in 2002 for the Game Boy Advance. One of the greatest games ever. You know it, you love it. Metroid Fusion. Nice Guy, it's an amazing game. And I thank my lucky stars when I think about this game that you told me that I had to play it. I owe you, sir, a debt of gratitude.
It's interesting, man, because I bought a Game Boy Advance back in 2000 whatever, right? And I didn't buy a ton of games. Like, I had Midnight Club, I had Tarzan, I had a few other things. I might have had some Mario game. To me, the headlining game on that console, my favorite Game Boy Advance game, is Metroid Fusion. And it's one of my favorite Metroids simply because I never really was into the NES one. I played some Super Metroid as a kid, but ultimately I think Metroid Fusion may be the first Metroid game that I beat all the way through, and the ability to play it in bed was just amazing. What a game, what a story. Loved it.
Absolutely. And I particularly loved... Oh, wait, hang on. Correct me if I'm wrong, but... As I recall, in Metroid Fusion, didn't we get a sort of, not quite Metroid Zero mission, but a sort of, like, reflecting thing? Or am I thinking of something else?
That I can't remember. It's been years.
Totally cool.
But you could absorb the little disease things, and that was a super cool feat.
It was. And the fact that you kind of had something that had, spoiler alert, taken over your old suit and was sort of patrolling around in the areas coming after
100%.
you. Yeah, terrifying. And especially on such a small screen. But yeah, absolutely love Metroid Fusion. Another one near and dear to my heart in 2008 for the PC and Xbox 360, Left 4 Dead.
Great game. Now I gotta ask you, how often do you like boot up and play some Left 4 Dead? It's a game that's in my rotation. I would say maybe like once a quarter. I'm like, you know what? Let me just hop on the Steam Deck and see if Left 4 Dead still has a community. Oh, it does. It definitely does. And I'll do like a round or two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I probably boot it up maybe once a year, I would say. And, usually I'll see if there are any new community maps that people have made for games like Left 4 Dead or Left 4 Dead 2 and try some of those out. I've seen some real good ones over the years, community-made maps that bring some fresh, bring a little bit something special to the game. But obviously, I feel like a lot of my sensibilities about gaming very much rooted in things like Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2. I've always loved cooperative games, enjoyed zombies, and you know what? I'll play a shooter if it means that I get to do it with friends. So, and then last but definitely not least, a little bit of history that happened just the other day. We started with probably one of the highlights, the things that Rebecca Heineman is known for. Tragically, she did pass yesterday.
No way. That's too bad. Rest in peace.
Lost bout with cancer. And in addition to being the first national champion of any video game at all, she was also the co-founder of Interplay. And the reason why the source code still exists from Fallout 1, she saved game data when the project was over that she was expressly told not to by other developers, and so that source code still exists. She's also the reason why Apple computers had any real good video games in the 1990s, since she ported a lot of those. It's easy to think because we see a lot of like really good, gaming available kind of everywhere. But really in the 90s, Mr. Nice Guy, I'm sure you'll remember that like it was tough to get video games on a Mac computer back in the 90s. Sure. And that's because these things ran on completely different system architectures. And so for a period of time in the 90s and 2000s, Rebecca Heineman was absolutely instrumental in making sure that games like Doom, games like and Interplay games wound up getting ported over so that they could be playable on Macintosh computers. But yeah, we lost an absolute icon. And her legacy in video game history will survive her for sure. But
rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace. And a somber way to go out, but go out we shall on video game history this week.
Thank you for that, Mac.
course.
Time for our topic of the week, a segment where we talk about something relevant in gaming and discuss our opinions on it. We have an indie game we need to review. We're not going to do it today, but we've got to get that in. I just remembered we got a good one for you next week. But today we're going to talk about an article on PC Gamer. This is by Andy Chalk, and I'm just going to read it rather than read the title. I feel like the titles, Mac, have spoilers. Why do we even read the titles of these articles?
Why?
The vampire survivor like Megabonk is one of the big indie hits of the year, selling 1 million copies in just 2 weeks and earning a nomination for Best Debut Indie Game in the Game Awards 2025. That sort of exposure is a big deal, especially for a small indie release, but developer Vedinad said they're withdrawing from the show for one simple and very understandable reason. Megabonk isn't actually their first game. Quote, "It's an honor and a dream for Megabonk to be nominated for the Game Awards, but unfortunately I don't think it qualifies for the category Debut Indie Game," Vedinad wrote on X. "I've made games in the past under different studio names, so Megabonk is not my debut game. I really appreciate the nomination, support, and votes, but it doesn't feel right in this category. You should vote for another one of the amazing debut titles. They are all amazing games." Numerous replies credit Vedinad, who signed off the message as John Megabonk, for their honesty, but one or two invoked memories of Dave the Diver, which was nominated for Best Indie Game at the Game Awards in 2023. Dave the Diver looks and plays like an indie game, but was developed by Mint Rocket, a division of Korean behemoth Nexon. Mac, I won't read this whole article, but this is so interesting to me because we had the Dave the Diver situation. I don't know if you remember, but you do remember.
But for those people at home who don't remember, please catch us up.
Yeah, so for those who don't remember, the Game Awards nominated it for Indie Game of the Year. Turns out that it was made by actually a big developer that was, I think, a subsidiary, or I should say it was made by a studio that was a subsidiary of a bigger company, right? Which made it arguable about whether or not it was actually an indie game. Now we have debut indie game coming from someone who's saying, hey, I appreciate it, but actually, this is not my first game. I have so many thoughts here. Like, do you think, and I'm going to ask you a tough one here, legitimacy of the Game Awards. It is the pinnacle for game makers. But to be shrouded in this controversy, does it affect the legitimacy of the awards, specifically for these smaller studios?
I know that in the publishing world, like for example, the first several books of Stephen King's Dark Tower series, he published those pseudonymously, under a pseudonym, because he was like, well, I don't think people are going to read my stuff if I don't, if it comes with the name Stephen King, I'll either get the wrong kind of attention, because I'll get people who just want to read Stephen King, or I'll get people who discount my ability to write fantasy because the name Stephen King is on there. One thing I can tell you from having tried to do some research about what's going on at this company, at that company, even trying to keep track of who owns who, can sometimes be a bit of a slog. So I have some, forgiveness in my heart for getting a thing wrong. But was he, I could see it being possible that he's publishing under this name. And that's the name of his company, and there's no real solid connection to previous titles that he's put off.
Sure.
So I don't know. I think it's an easy mistake to make, to think that, oh, hey, this is a title, we've never seen something published under here before, and not that. But it does call into question a little bit of, are you doing your due diligence when you are seeking these out? Are you doing the legwork to make sure, or are you just doing a preliminary check and passing by? I think it does call into question some of the legitimacy, or at least if the people who are putting it together are really taking the time to research stuff first.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, in the defense of the researchers, at least as far as I know, it's not like a bunch of people in the games industry came out and said, hey, that's not their debut indie game. It was the guy himself, right?
Yeah.
And also in the defense of the researchers, there's no way that they could ever know everyone's history And not all of it may be on the internet, so I get
Sure.
that. But with the 2023 thing, I feel like they should have known with Dave the Diver. Then you bring this into play, and I just feel like there's got to be some way of knowing, even if it's reaching out to the studio and saying, hey, is this actually your debut indie game? Right? And if not, let us know. The other thing I'd say is that if a team of 10 is making an indie game, and it's the new studio's first game, but 2 of those people have worked on an indie game before, does that mean it's not a debut indie game? I feel like there should be some leeway there. I don't think that it has to be someone's first time making a game. I think, and this is above my pay grade, so to speak, but I feel like there should be some criteria that allows for leniency, but not for blatant mistakes like what we're seeing over the past 2 examples.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably very fair to be like, hey, maybe this one, not such a big deal. It would be an easy mistake to make. But the Dave the Diver one is a bit more glaring for sure.
Yeah, here's my thing too, and I don't want to crap on the Game Awards, but I feel like there's nothing unexpected. There's no twist. There's no hook. I look at the games of the year that were nominated. Clair Obscur Expedition 33, Death Stranding 2, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Hades 2, Hollow Knight Silksong, and Kingdom Come Deliverance. And I think that a lot of people would have said, yeah, these are the games that are going to be nominated. There's a lot of games that are snubbed every year. Shout out to Half-Life Alyx in 2020. But ultimately, Mac, these nominations, especially in that category, come down to what games are played by a lot of people, as opposed to a game like Half-Life Alyx that, because it was VR, gets snubbed. And I will never get over that. There has to be some type of exceptions made to the normal formula when we're coming up with these lists. And if it truly is a celebration of games, then allow the best games that maybe weren't played by as many people to be celebrated. It's wild to me that Half-Life Alyx wasn't nominated. And it's also wild to me that we're looking at a list of 6 games of the year this year, and when I scroll down and I look at best indie game, there's an overlap of 3 of the best games of the year. I mean, at that point, if Expedition 33 wins, which I think a lot of people think it will, for Game of the Year, is it also going to win for Indie Game? Because if Hollow Knight Silksong beats it for Indie Game but doesn't win Game of the Year, it just doesn't make sense. So these are the types of things where I feel like maybe we just don't need a Universal Game Award. We just look at Metacritic. It's kind of like E3 went by the wayside. Maybe the Game Awards just don't need to exist anymore.
I don't know, dude. I really like there being some amount of accolades, some trophies that are handed out. I think it's the type of thing that, I don't know, it's the type of thing that we've done that sort of thing. We've had awards, we've had Game Awards, we've had Golden Globes, we've had Grammys. We've done awards shows for, I don't know, at least the last 100 years or so. I think there's something fun about it, and I think there's something that I don't think we've outgrown, for better or worse. I like the idea of there being a Game Awards.
I'm not saying it's not fun. I'm just saying that the lists at this point aren't always what they should be.
So maybe they need to dig deeper. But you're not, surely you're not saying, Mr. Nice Guy, you're going to take away my awards shows?
No, I like awards shows.
Oh, good.
All right. Well, hey, that's been our topic of the week.
All right. Well, now we turn to a crowdfunding project that's trying to get off the ground. We call this Kick or Kickstart. So, Mr. Nice Guy, I was really torn. And so I've got today a Kickstarter that I think we're both going to agree needs some work. I'm putting a link in the chat right now, and this is to a project called Completion Cards. It only has about 20 days left to go, and it has not made it very far along its very low goal of only about $811. So it was a €700 goal. And it doesn't look like it's going to get over the line naturally, especially not at this point. But I think there's some good ideas here that are worth talking about. So, what do we actually have here in the completion cards? The idea here is that it would be a physical trophy in the form of a card to celebrate the games that you've 100%ed. with stuff printed on it, like you imagine something like that looks kind of like a Magic card or a Pokemon card or something like that, that features the game art on it, some stats on the bottom as to the date that you 100%ed the game, got all the achievements, how many hours you had put into that game. There are some other things in there about specifically having these cards be numbered so that they've got a serial number so that there's only one and it can be compared against a database. That I think is probably a bridge too far. But the idea of a card or a physical trophy for your completion of a game is something that I deeply, deeply love and resonates with me. Even if I don't think that this is there.
Interesting. Why?
Because, Mr. Nice Guy, I feel like in the increasingly digital world that we have, I feel like for accomplishments or achievements like 100%ing the game, I would love for any of us to be able to get our hands on some kind of a physical trophy. Like I said, I think that there are fundamental issues with this Kickstarter, but I like the idea. I wish it were something that we could arrange. There's a whole host of issues that I can't even get started with, but among the things that they were doing is it was about €5 to get your hands on one of these limited edition print cards with information that you would share from your Steam account, and they would get that, oh, this is when you completed the date, and put all of that there. Mr. Nice Guy, please feel free to disagree with me. Not a fan of a physical trophy for 100%ing a game.
I have no problem with a physical trophy. I just have a problem with the idea of me paying someone to do it for me. When it's something that could be printed or it's something that could be 3D printed, right? It's wild to think that type of thing should be going through a third party as opposed to people just doing it themselves. And I think the whole thing about Steam, and we've talked about this before, my opinion is that there's a certain level of hypocrisy for those of us who really like physical hardware but also love Steam, or physical software but also like Steam. And I feel like this is the same thing. Steam is a digital platform. The rewards that we get from Steam, the trading, everything from the trading cards to the stickers that we get during Steam sales are all digital.
Yeah.
So the idea of now wanting a physical trophy that's tied to something other than just your profile is very interesting to me. And the idea that you should pay someone other than Valve to get that is even more wild to me.
Mr. Nice Guy, the funny part is how much I agree with you and disagree with you on very specific points, but that overall I'm on board. Like, I don't think when the only option or the only real, well, yeah, in most cases, the only option is to buy a game digitally, I don't think you as a person, as an individual, should ever feel like you're being hypocritical, that the only option you have for enjoying your hobby is the options presented to you by people who don't want to let you have physical stuff, for whatever reason. They never published it physically. You should feel hypocritical about wanting physical, but still buying digital because that's the only option. But I do 100% agree that we shouldn't be paying a third party. 120%. I think getting a physical trophy should be something that's doable, that's purchasable, and that we should be able to get it from the game company itself. I think whether that's something like enamel pins, Mr. Nice Guy, I've got perlers to commemorate my that I made myself to commemorate my 120th star in Mario 64.
Love it.
My strawberries in Celeste.
Nice.
Or of course, 100%ing a Legend of Zelda game or two. I love the idea of having something that I can hang up, and I have a time or two been like, why does that star have 120? Oh, because there's 120 in Mario 64, and I wanted something to commemorate it, so I made it. Or like you were saying, 3D printing. Not everybody's got themselves a 3D printer.
I don't.
Got my hands on one, but even I don't wind up using it that much. but I would still love for there to be an option, especially where it concerns like these cards that this person on Kickstarter wants to have you pay for do involve artwork that is copyrighted, things that are, logos that are trademarked, things that almost certainly she does not have the legal permission to use and sell in this fashion.
Well, and here's the wild thing too: is she going to continually do this for people, or is this a one-time thing? So let's say I have 5 games that are 100%ed right now, and I say, hey, can you print this for me? And she says, sure. And then a month from now, I 100% another game. I 100% Silk Song, and I say, hey, can you print this for me? And she says, I'm not doing it anymore. You know what I mean? So I'm curious how that works. Is this a subscription service? Is this a per game 100%ed? What does it look like? Do you know?
So from what she says on the Kickstarter, the idea is that you would go ahead and you would submit what you have right now. She would print out this first thing, and that there will be a future option through a website that she's putting together to place additional orders in the future.
Okay, and if you said that while I was reading, I apologize because I was
No. I actually did not.
Okay.
A lot of what's going on in this Kickstarter is to cover the, she says, I need this much money to get the cutting machine for supplies, shipping, in order to make these things happen with the various, equipment and such. And that's the idea behind. She's doing this so that she can be like, hey, I can print these up now and I can ship them worldwide. Shipping costs worldwide are steep, just FYI, and only getting steeper. The idea is, in the pitch of this Kickstarter, it would be, you can get these trophies now. If you get new ones in the future, yes, you can pay the €5 or what have you, plus shipping for me to send you more.
I think she's funding her business here, and to me that's the problem. Like, I think she wants this expensive piece of machinery, and yes, she's going to make the Steam stuff, but once that's done, and as she should, she's going to use the machine for other things. But I almost wonder if the passion is actually the Steam thing, or if that's just a means to an end to then say, hey, I actually really want to just print other stuff, and that's why I wanted you guys to pay for my machine for me. So I absolutely say kick this.
I mean, I say kick it for other reasons as well. Like, I think, obviously this is way too... I think it's a great idea, but she should not be the one doing it. She does not have authorization from the companies to use their stuff to put that out there. But I think this is the type of thing that I feel like Steam ought to be doing. I feel like we ought to have an option for a physical trophy when we 100% a game with this type of thing to have Steam send us. Pay $15, $20 or whatever, get yourself a trophy. And I would be sorely, sorely tempted for such a thing. I think it's a great idea. I think both legal and logistical challenges make this a kick for me. But the idea is so good, and I hope that there is somebody who can make this type of thing happen officially. It's like when you see a fan game that's incredible, and you're like, man, I really wish that this had the blessing of the company, because it would be amazing, and they could make magic together. That's what I feel when I look at that.
Well, cool. We will keep things moving with Nerd Flex.
Woohoo!
A segment where you, the viewers, try to stump the host. Sometimes you do, sometimes you do not. And if you're here live, you know what to do. Get in that chat, type a multiple-choice gaming-related question. Mac has something he wants to say.
Yes, indeed. Today is a sound test episode. So that means that we say goodbye today to sound test number 319. You've had a little while to see if you couldn't identify it, and so far nobody has, so we phase it out and say goodbye. Now, Mr. Nice Guy, I don't know if you wanted to take a last guess at it.
Let me take a last guess at it. I'm going to play this and see what it is.
I better hurry over to the fireworks factory.
I have no idea. It sounds almost, it's older for sure. Maybe even 90s. I'm going to go Burger Time.
Ooh. So this actually comes from a point-and-click adventure game called Putt Putt Goes to the Moon.
Okay.
And,
Interesting.
yeah, no.
Worth playing?
It's, it's funny. I don't know how well it's held up, but I loved it back in the day. But anyway, that one's now off the table. There are no special prizes for you if you happen to know where that's from, because we already revealed it. But we do have a new sound test for this episode 359. Correctly guess it, let us know on social media, and you could win a handcrafted prize lovingly made and sent to your door. Good luck. All right, thanks for that momentary diversion, Mr. Nice Guy. Time for that trivia, yeah?
Let's do it. And we're going to go straight to the trivia test bank to get things started. Going to hit the random button. The first one that popped up was, what is the currency that's used in The Legend of Zelda, right? We're not going to do that. That's okay. Here's a Nintendo question. What is the name of Nintendo's loyalty scheme? What is the name of Nintendo's loyalty scheme? I'm not quite sure I understand the question, Mac.
Is there like a Nintendo club of some kind that they're referring to?
There is. It's called Club Nintendo, but I don't know if that's what they're referring to or not. But since you said that, without knowing, that could be it.
I mean, I would just say whatever the Nintendo club is, but that's best guess, because I haven't had a Nintendo product in ages.
But I feel like that's going to change now that the Switch 2 is out. I'm being silly. Club Nintendo final answer? It is indeed Club Nintendo. That was also an easy question, but not as ridiculous. Okay, dude, this is a good one. A special round. Name 2 characters that only appear in Star Wars video games, but not the movies or TV shows.
Okay.
This is wild. Cal Kestis.
Yeah, Cal Kestis, Dash Rendar from Dark Forces. But then there's characters like Bastila from Knights of the Old Republic and Revan. Those guys are video game onlys. They don't show up in the books. Well, I guess maybe people might have written books since then.
Well, it just said movies or TV shows. It didn't say books.
Yeah. So yeah, if we're not talking about that, then it's just Revan, Darth Revan, Malik, basically any of the characters from Knights of the Old Republic would classify.
Dude,
and that's what, 4?
I think that's several. Yeah, we're good to go. Let's see what they say on the back of the card. Revan, Kyle Katarn, and Cal Kestis.
Nice.
So some of the ones we said. Well done.
Yeah.
We're 2 for 2.
Woo-hoo.
Okay, this is an easy one too, but we're going to go with it because it came up as I pressed the random button. Metal Gear Solid. Who provides the voice for Solid Snake?
Beats the heck out of me, dude.
Well, here's the thing. I'm a huge fan of the TV show 24 from back in the day. My understanding is that Kiefer Sutherland provides the voice for Solid Snake, or at least he did at one point for a long period. So I'm going to go Kiefer Sutherland, final answer.
I'm with you.
Oh my gosh, I was completely wrong. David Hayter. I know Kiefer Sutherland did something for Metal Gear. David Hayter, though, is Solid Snake, so I got that wrong. That's been Nerdflex.
All right. Well, now we turn to a little bit of legalese.
Legalese.
As y'all know, I'm not a lawyer. I just play one here on a podcast, and we're revisiting an old thing called Martineau v. Bungie, because that case has settled. But for those of you who don't exactly remember, here's a brief reminder. Martineau claimed that Destiny 2 had stolen whole chunks of his published sci-fi work for some of the plot lines in the game. Some of the specific, expansion storylines or what have you that Destiny pulled out. Mr. Nice Guy, is this sounding familiar at all?
This is not. When you said Martineau, I was thinking the dude who voices Mario, so I'm excited to learn more.
What happened was, at any given point in time in a lawsuit, right, somebody makes a claim, And then you can make an attempt to basically get the claim dismissed before it really goes any farther, because it's expensive to keep the lawyers around. It's expensive to go through the whole time while you're doing jury. You're selecting the people to put them on. You go for it. That all takes a lot of time, a lot of money, and people like to try and either settle before you actually get into court, or to, try and get the case dismissed because, there's no way this is going to go their way in trial. And without really getting bogged down, the important bit is that if you can get something dismissed before going to trial, you can, and before you get discovery, expensive to go through and show the other side all the information that could possibly pertain to the case. You can save a lot of money if you can show convincingly to a judge at an early stage that this should be dismissed because it's meritless, right? Save tons of money. So Bungie, a company worth something like $3.6 billion, was facing this lawsuit. Yeah, Bungie was bought for $3.6 million, so I assume it's fairly...
3.6 billion with a B, yeah.
Yeah, with a B. And I think it's fair to say that it's probably worth about that much.
Sure.
So they were facing down this lawsuit, right? And when they submitted their case to say, hey, Your Honor, this really needs to be dismissed, no way did we steal this man's sci-fi work, right? They did not give a very good showing in court. They were either unable or unwilling to provide much of any evidence for, hey, we're the ones who came up with this storyline, right? And especially when you consider the amount of money on the line for the, the type of long-term financial sink a long drawn-out court case is going to be, there's a lot of incentive to put your best foot forward. So at the time, I and a lot of other people were like, hey, why on earth would you bring this weak sauce nonsense when you could cut this off right at the head? So unable were they that instead of presenting any real evidence about the nature or process that they went through to make the game, they offered a few sworn statements from people. Okay, that's at least something. Some people who say, I solemnly swear that we did in fact not steal this man's stuff. But also, they just sent a link to YouTube videos about the game's storyline. That was their evidence. They didn't even have
I remember this now.
There you go. Yeah, they didn't have internal documents, notes, prior art, and they didn't even have the actual gameplay itself to put up in court because that stuff had been archived or vaulted or whatever they call it. And presumably, if the production of that evidence could have saved them in court or presented things, I'm inclined to think that they would have actually presented it. So Mac's weird conspiracy theory brain is like, they don't actually have any of that. Because if they had it, they would have produced it instead of literally sending a multi-hour YouTube video made by a fan on YouTube describing the story of these space adventures. Yes. So, anyway, who knows? Maybe the documentation would have proved they've stolen it. Maybe they didn't have any of the data. Who knows? We know absolutely nothing, and we know even less because before getting fully through the discovery process, Bungie has settled with Martineau, and we will get no details on the terms of the settlement, unless, of course, somebody says something that they're not supposed to. And we will know nothing about the merits of this claim because it's settled out of court with no public information on it. But we can still speculate that they, number one, didn't want to go through the long court case, and so they at least paid him something in order to make it so that they didn't have to, I don't know, embarrassingly admit that they don't keep any of their stuff? I have no idea, Mr. Nice Guy. I'm not a lawyer. That's legalese is all it is. Legalese.
That is so wild on multiple levels, man. Document stuff.
Agreed. Yeah.
Save your
Be like Rebecca Heineman. Save that source code. you might save yourself in court.
Well, Mac, on that note, I say we wrap things up. Thank you for tuning in, everybody, to Two Nerds episode 359. But before we go, we have one last segment called What We've Been Watching and What We've Been Playing, where we talk about just that, the cool, nerdy stuff we've been into across all platforms. Mac, what you been into the past week or so?
Well, thanks to Ishmael and his visit, I have been playing a little bit of Cave Blazers. Got back into that. We were doing some
great game.
local co-op. It was a fun time. But also, we played a board game called Arkham Horror. And on the first game, we won quite handily as well. So it was pretty fun. Board game, one of those complicated ones that's going to take 20 minutes to set up and 3 hours or so to play. The
Nice.
right type of thing on a nice rainy afternoon hangout. So yeah, had a great time. As for watching, mostly been watching some Taskmaster, and we also watched a bit of Our Flag Means Death while we were hanging out. What about you, Mr. Nice Guy?
Our Flag Means Death. What is that about?
Stars Taika Waititi and Rhys Darby, and it's about pirates. It's one of them historical fictions based on a true story. It's about Stede Bonnet and Blackbeard.
Interesting. I'm looking up Arkham Horror. You guys had some fun. Sounds like a fun visit.
Did.
Mac, I have been playing, so I picked up Hades 2. It was on sale on Steam.
Nice.
And I think it still is, actually, for those who are listening to this before the 20th. If you're interested in picking up one of the Game of the Year candidates for, I think, $6 off, that is on sale. And it's a good game, Mac. It's very, very good. I will leave it at that. We'll save the insight for the conversation when we do our Game of the Year episode. But yeah, that's most of what I've been playing. I got back into Balatro, trying to get some more of the achievements there on my Steam Deck. And yeah, as far as watching, lots of Arc Raiders videos. I've still been playing Arc Raiders as well. And that's pretty much it, man.
Nice.
Boring week for watching stuff. Starting the Christmas movie season a little before Turkey Day.
'Tis the season.
'Tis the season. Mac and everybody, thank you for tuning in to episode 359 of Two Nerds in a Pod, nerdiest video game podcast in the galaxy. Be excellent to each other, play video games, and remember, they're art.
Yes.
Treat them as such. Thanks for watching.
Bye.